Also, first day
Oh,
of
you
school for you, right? And for many people.
first day of school. Yep, August 26th. This is it's been marked on the calendar for a while. This is the first of the last. This is the
Yeah,
last
senior
of
year.
first day photos. This will be the first of the last of, and then fill in the blank. So we know that this year is going to be emotionally challenging, physically challenging. There's a lot of changes in this past year. I feel like 2025, 2024, the year of growth in so many ways, where
Yes.
personally I'm feeling it, business wise, feeling it. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
where we all want to be. If we look at the professional aspect of it, we wish that we're farther ahead where the economy is
Yeah.
regards to real estate. And so, I don't know, for me, today marks a day of new beginnings for my daughter, and it's a mind shift, I gotta tell you, of, okay, what's this gonna look like for me? I'm gonna become an empty nester
Yeah.
and focusing on her, but then also focusing on business. If anybody's watching this and you're in the real estate realm working, you know that we work on 100% commission, we work 100% of the time. So, what does that look like trying to do that balance? So, I get
Right.
to shift and I don't know, the reflection of this last year, gosh, even professionally, Holly,
Mhm.
we've been through a lot professionally in the
Oh my
last year.
gosh. Well, and that's the whole like highlight topic for today is like, one big thing that happened in real estate, as we all know, the ones that have been paying attention, was that NAR lawsuit. August 17th. It was a year anniversary of, they got sued, and it's a lawsuit that started down in Missouri. And it was really and truly the attorneys were the big winners because they get a third of the whatever it was, 300 million, some crazy settlement, right? But the
Mhm.
sellers didn't get much money, and the sellers
No.
came together because they felt like they didn't know that they were essentially paying their agent to list and also the buyer side agent, or if they knew, they also felt like they had to do it and they didn't realize it was negotiable. So I can't speak to Missouri because I'm not licensed there. I've never even been there. But I know here in Michigan we have ironclad everything, and I know the discussions I have with my people. So it's always interesting to me that people felt like that. And of course, we know why things have historically been, commissions were paid that way. But it kind of sets something off in real estate where I will start with the agents. There are some agents who have lost their minds. Like they literally had to, and for those of us who know how to do business, and it didn't change much for us, but for the people who just didn't, who were just grabbing those Zillow leads and running and showing houses and didn't have anything signed and didn't know how to do any of it, didn't even have a lender, didn't have anything done, essentially just Vanna White, let me open the door and close the door, turn on some lights and show you the house. Things had to change for them. And they got crazy because they didn't know how to do good business. They didn't know how to sit down and have a consultation. They didn't know how to explain their worth. They didn't understand how to have these conversations. So we literally essentially had this huge hot mess of confusion for agents who didn't know what they were doing. And a lot of these agents just jumped in because 2021 was like the best year ever. And it was like hand over fist with real estate deals. So everyone thought, oh, this is
Picking
easy. We'll
apples
just
off
do
the
it.
tree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're like, this is
just
easy.
jump in.
And now it's like you got to know what you're doing. So essentially, it's become a thing. I have a quick story, and he won't watch it, so it's fine. But I don't care. I just did a deal with an agent, and in the beginning, he did what he was supposed to do. He wrote the offer up with the commission he wanted. I got back to him and I told him that's not the commission that my seller is offering. And again, it was kind of based on the offer. They came in lower. So my sellers may have done a different percentage had that number been better. So it's negotiated. So I went back to him right away and I said, hey, here's the commission. By the way, it was over $600,000 sale. So it was a great commission. So there was nothing to complain about. He agreed to it. Now, this is just what the seller is paying you. You, as an agent, your job is to sit with your buyer. You have a contract that says, this is my commission that you are responsible for. Hey, by the way, the seller may cover some part or all of it. I'll let you know, but you're responsible essentially for it. It was his job to go back if he wasn't happy with that to his buyer because his buyer is the one that essentially is responsible for that commission.
And fill that gap of that percentage, whatever that
Exactly.
percentage was,
Whatever
to
the
make
gap
up what
was.
he wanted and
Or
he
you
felt
just
like he
accept it.
deserved to make.
Right, or you just accept it, and a lot of people will just accept it if the commission is at a higher level like that, they'll be like, "That's fine, whatever," right?
Mhm.
So we get to closing. Now my commission was different than his. He lost his ever-loving mind. Hi, Shiv, how are you? He lost his mind because he saw that my commission was more than his. He's like, "I don't understand. I've never seen this before. This is ridiculous." And I was like, "What don't you understand?" I sat down with my client and I negotiated my worth for all the things that I did as listing agent. I asked them what they were willing to do for a buyer agent. They told me, and I relayed that to you. If you weren't happy with that, it's your job to go back to your client. Well, I've never seen this, and this is unprofessional. I'm like, no, you're unprofessional. You're the reason why there was an issue. And again, now it's happened to me at least 3 times where I saw that closing statement and the listing agent got more than I did. And I was fine with it because I already knew what my commission was. I agreed to it from the seller, and it was my job to go back to my client. Now, if I decide to do that, that's up to me. I didn't because I was also listing their home. So for me, if I'm listing someone's home and I'm doing the buy side, that's fine. To take a cut in that, it's a business experience. It's a business choice, right? He lost his mind. He was going crazy. I never want to talk to you again. And I was like, I'm unclear as to what you don't understand here. Like, I'm sorry
You
that
weren't
you don't know how
prepared.
to,
He
you don't, and
wasn't
by the way, it
prepared.
was a shit show. Sorry, I've never sworn here before. Of it at the end, we were only a week late because all these issues that happened. And again, they fall under the buyer agent responsibility, not mine. So he's sitting here telling me how he's so awesome and deserved blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, then you need to talk to your buyer because you should have something signed from that buyer stating that this is your commission. So that's just one story. And what I don't love about what they did. Hey, Enzo and Tisa, sorry. Thanks for joining us, guys. We're so happy you're here. What I don't love is that one of the big changes they did make, because again, NAR was afraid of getting sued. The MLS is afraid of getting sued. They said that they were trying to be more transparent. It's baloney. They weren't trying to be more transparent. They wanted to save their own butts. So it used to be you could see the commission that was being offered to a buyer's agent on the MLS and online. You would know right away what it is, right? But now you
Yeah.
have to ask that question. So you have some agents are doing bad business. They're not answering the question accurately either. And sometimes agents are taking more. Like, let's say a seller says, I'm going to use a wrong number. 10% is the commission, and I would like it split between you and the buyer's agent. Great. So I'm going to get five, and the buyer's agent's going to get five. Fantastic, which would be great if that was how it really worked, but it doesn't. It's never 10%. Anyways, um, and then I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to take 6% and give the buyer agent 4. And nobody knows until you close and you see that final statement, right? So there are agents who are doing that, and that is wrong. So to me, it's 100% not being like giving that clarity. So what is our channel about? Thanks for asking. This is called It's Really Real Estate. So I'm a real estate agent here in Michigan, and this is Cece Maciejewski. She's a lender. She's my lender partner. We talk about everything real estate related. You can go back and watch all of our lives and videos because we like to take topics that are hot topics or educating in the industry or just whatever we feel like is something that people need to know. And right now, we're talking about a year anniversary of this big lawsuit and what's happened in real estate since. And I was just telling kind of like an interesting story of an agent that lost his mind at me.
And on my end, I can match that. It didn't happen to me personally, but I do have a friend who's a loan officer who, at the end, we all look at the numbers. We look at the numbers where that's our job. We go over it with our client, but we're on the buy side, not the sell side. So what
Mhm.
ended up happening is that the buyer's agent didn't like his commission as well, but negotiated 2.5%, but really felt like she wanted 3%. And at the end, she turned to her clients, the purchase agreement's been signed, they've gone through the process, they have their closing statements, everything was sent over at the official time. It was a pretty easy file from what I heard in this story. There was no complications. And at the end, the real estate agent asked the buyers to cut her a check to make up the difference. At the end.
Oh, you can't
At
do
the
that.
end.
You can't do that.
I understand that. And it just
Oh, that's
happened maybe about a month and a half ago, just recently, which is against a
everything.
lot
It's
of
against
rules,
everything.
a lot
Well,
of
you know
rules,
why
it's
she
a
did
lot of
that?
rules.
So you have to, when you sit down with the buyer as an agent, they sign what your commission is. So in this example that you're saying, she was getting 2.5% from the seller, I think is what you're
Mhm,
saying. She
mhm.
wanted a total of 3%. So in her contract with their buyer, it should have said my commission is 3%. Then she could have went back to the buyer and it would have been handled at the table on the up and up with the brokerages.
Then you
We're not
know
allowed to
your
handle money if you're not a broker. You can't handle that money. You can't
yeah.
do that.
My first
You know.
question was, did she ask for cash or a check? Like, wait a minute. She's like, "No, what?" Everybody just stared and she went like kinda like from what she heard, like everybody just stared at her, not at
Can
the closing
imagine
table.
that girl's not gonna be in business in a year from now. You can't there's so much wrong with that mindset. There's
And
so
that
much
was
wrong with
my
that.
question is like, how seasoned? Because we don't name names. When we
No,
talk
right.
about we don't name names like, "Hey, so we had this thing." We never name names because we don't wanna know, we don't wanna be a part of anything, and so that's up to her. I'm like, did it go through? If it goes through, what are you going to do? And then my next question is she seasoned? How long has she been in this industry for? Which
She's
was my
dumb.
next one. I
She's dumb.
Yeah, so it was interesting to hear, but that's kinda on the flip side, on my side of when a buyer's agent thinks that they need the 3%. I didn't ask the loan amount, I
Or
didn't
whatever
ask
their
purchase price, I didn't ask
commissions,
any
yeah.
of that. It's just a pure fact that she thought her worth was the 3%.
And there's
I'm
nothing wrong with
for
that. There's
I'm
nothing wrong with
for
that.
someone
But you
saying,
have to do it
"I
the
work."
right way. I know what my worth is, and I sit
Exactly.
down and I negotiate it. There's a really good question too. Is it Syed? How to do a profit like after buying a piece of land? Like how the price varies and how long it takes years. Just want to make. Are you talking about just buying a piece of land? Because I will say, if you're talking about vacant land and
Like
you want to,
flipping land? Like
yeah. So
flipping land or
flipping,
building on land? There's 2. So
or are
flipping
you
land or
talking about?
building on it.
Yeah, because if you're talking about just buying a vacant piece of land, typically that takes some time. If you want to make serious money, you have to go into an area that's up and coming, not current because the prices will be up. You have to find an area building on land. Okay, so you want to develop a piece of land and buy and build houses? Is that what you want to do? Because it's the same thing. You want to find buying land. You want to find what's the upcoming where people want to go. We have to watch the trends. So I call the migration patterns, if you will. So like for here in Michigan, like for
Mm.
example, I'll take city of Romeo. People love Romeo and they want to be in Romeo, but then it got too crowded. So all the people who bought and built in Romeo are moving up to Bruce Township. Okay. And
You
this might
skipped a
be
step. Everybody was in Sterling Heights.
right. Yeah.
They're in Warren, Sterling Heights, went to
Right. So
Romeo, and
yeah,
now
so
they're
they're
moving north.
moving, and this may mean nothing to
Mhm.
you guys if you don't live in our area, but just to say, so they would, if they did it early enough and they bought before those prices went up, now they're building and they're able to have equity walking in because it's the next big area where value is going to start like popping up. So building land, like how should I know the land is going to be more worthy in the future? So you got to talk to an agent. Are you in Michigan? Because if you're in Michigan, you can reach out to me and I'll get more details
In
from you.
Florida.
Yeah, and Florida, I'm licensed down in Florida. Florida might be a little bit trickier, but if you're in Michigan, you just have to reach out. And if not, let me know where you're at and I can refer you to an agent that's out of state or wherever you're at. Because here's the thing, you have to talk with somebody who knows what's up and coming. Another thing to watch, but usually by the time you see that it's almost too late. Where are the builders going? So here's another quick story about that. My daughter moved down to Florida. And where she's in a community that was built, it's a big development community. And they're starting to put those up where she's at. Now she's in an area that is known as an area that's up and coming. A lot of the younger, like 20 somethings, Gen Z, 20 somethings are moving there because it's starting to be built. So if you watch where builders are going to go, or if you talk to builders, they always know because there's no way they're going to start a development, a sub, or anything if they don't see it as being an area people are going to want to be. So builders are really watching and they're looking at land pricing and they're watching so many things like insurance prices. I mean, there's a lot of factors. It depends really where you're at. You're from
And
another
sitting
country.
and
Okay.
sitting on land in itself. So where the Chrysler building is at, right up here in Auburn Hills. The
Yep.
family that purchased that land sat on it for 40,
Yeah.
50 years from what I
Yeah.
heard.
A lot of
So
times you have to wait. Yeah.
they sat on that and let everything build. Nothing was built north of 59, and it was north of 59. So
Yep.
they were really forecasting, okay, I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're eventually moving north. People are moving north
Right.
out of the city. When Detroit, a lot that changed for us, for the everybody watching, Detroit had a rule
Mhm.
way back in the day, when like Hoffa era, let me kind of bring it to that era where if you worked in the city, you had to live in the city. If you're a police
Yes.
officer, a fireman, if you worked in the schools, that was the thing is that they wanted that community. But when they let that go, people started moving and the flight, it's called a flight, moved out of
Yep.
Detroit. So
Yep.
the outside of Detroit, you have what's it? Indian Village is a good one. There's quite a few places in Detroit that were
Boston,
good.
Boston
Yeah,
Edison, there's a couple
yes.
that are yeah.
Yeah, because that's where the fire chiefs live, that's where doctors
Mhm.
live, that's where the high powered of whoever in that industry, and then all of a sudden when they released it, the flight ended up happening, so then they moved to Warren, then Sterling Heights built up, everybody moved to Sterling Heights, Shelby Township, Macomb, they built up, and so as you see a trend, you can use this and apply this to any city in your area. Think
Mhm.
about it, where was the core? Where was
Yep.
the big city? Then the rings started going
Mhm.
out, 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 and now right now, I laugh, actually, I laugh because, my boyfriend says I still live in the city when I'm right here on the edge of the country, and he still fights with me that I'm still in the city because Romeo's building up, Almont's building up, so the city is north of me, of where we live, we go to school, our businesses are located here in Macomb County, Oakland County, Wayne, as we spread out, so you gotta forecast. So if I
Yes.
have any advice for you, Saeed, forecast where people are going to move in
Mhm.
10, 15 years. Not right now, but I would
Yes.
invest in property and just hold it
Yep.
because it's a cheaper. So if I did something Imlay, but that's kind of getting north. So like Almont, like talking about,
Almont's already being built up.
but that
They're already
someone
going.
forecasted
Yeah,
exactly, but that was forecasted a
it
decade
was.
ago.
Yep,
When
and
I moved
now
to
they're
my
doing it.
city,
Yeah.
exactly. So the people started buying up in Almont and sat on it for a decade,
Yep.
15 years, because they see the pattern. So
Mhm.
Saeed, look at the pattern, forecast what you want to do. If I could forecast, I would actually love to buy a piece of land in some sporadic areas because I know it's going to grow and create value when I want to build a house there or put or sell it off to a builder. That's where you're gonna make your money because the builder's gonna see value in that land
Yep.
at that time. So if you're forecasting 10, 15 years ahead, let's just say 15 years ahead, you want to start negotiating with builders 10 years from now because they're going to see the
Yeah.
value in 5 years. They want to obtain that land. So it may be a little bit sooner when I say 10 to 15, your end result is to make that money at that 15-year mark, but 5 years before, now start putting up for sale signs for builders to get the idea like, hey, the value is going north or going east or going west of that big city. So that's
And
my advice.
yeah, and to piggyback on that, also not just builders, but I know people who had land that Home Depot wanted, or the big Amazon center wanted, or if you can also find these industrial corridors that aren't bought yet, or commercial, or whatever the zoning is, and you can really see, okay, this is a prime piece of property for that. There are people right now near where I live at that 22 and Romeo Plank, they condemned the corner store. All those houses got condemned. The government bought it in Macomb Township because they needed to do a roundabout and do some other things. So I don't know that the government pays the top dollar, but still, if they need it, they have to pay you at least market value for it. Maybe you can negotiate better. But looking at those trends too and seeing, is there industries that want this? And yes, 100% real estate, I believe, is the best investment. Here's why. Yes, also you want to have your market, your bond, your all of your
Well,
investments
you need to be diversified
be
in your
diversified, but
assets.
show me
Yeah.
one billionaire that didn't get their start in real estate or doesn't have a real estate portfolio, because that's where Trump, Warren Buffett, all of these people
Mhm.
have a vested interest in real estate. They all do. And think about the concern that we have right now with these REITs, real estate investment trusts, like China coming and trying to buy. There's a concern right now. They're buying a lot of our land, just open land. They're buying it. That to me we need to, someone needs to stopgap that and take a look at that, because you can't make more land. Think about it. You can always make more money. You can grow a business. You can invest differently. You can diversify. You can choose different stocks. You can't make more land. Okay. So it's the only real commodity that we have that once it's gone, it's gone. Once it's all, it's like when you play Monopoly, when every single one of those properties is bought, that you're just going around and seeing who's going to win at that point because there's nothing else to buy. Somebody owns it all. So yes, it's huge. Real estate ownership is 100% at the top of the best investments you can make. Now, make
And
sure you make a good investment. Don't buy a piece of property that's, waterlogged, or, is some preserve that you can't build on it, or, you do your due diligence, right? There are some pieces of property that aren't worth much.
yeah,
So do
and
your due
Saeed
diligence.
Saeed did mention stocks and crypto are giving more returns. That's
Faster
immediate.
returns, maybe
That's
faster
immediate.
returns.
I
Yeah.
was talking more long term where you hold and play the long game. Stocks
Yep.
are long game. We were just talking, me and a couple people over the weekend were talking about how it's a long game. If you're doing Robinhood, that's short. Like we're day trading. Of course, stocks can be day trading in a short term or it could be long term, but real estate, if you hold, it's a long term game. And you have to know that when you invest and be okay with that, with those liquid assets that you just purchased an asset for. Like you take money out of your account and you pay for it and you just hold it, pay the taxes, of course, it's in an LLC or in a trust, and you put it off and you put it on the shelf. See top shelf? You put it right there on the top shelf. And you come back 10 years later, you pick it up, you move it closer. That's all I'm saying. So yes, you're right. Crypto, that's pretty big. I don't know anything about crypto. I'm not educated in that, but I have friends who are. So that I'll turn to the professionals and ask some questions. But you said something pretty interesting, Holly, when you were talking about the forecasting and what's happening. I'd really like to circle back to where we're at in the market today and where we were just a year ago versus 2020. Because I mean,
Yeah.
we've had some pretty big things happen in our industry where everything was great with the interest rates being low. Everybody went crazy, values went up. Now, with the Federal Reserve, there's a lot of controversy going on right now between Powell. They've come in. It's Lisa Cook. I know you and I were talking. I could not remember her last name. It's Lisa Cook.
Hmm.
She is the governor, the Federal Reserve governor,
Okay.
and they're now claiming mortgage fraud. This is the rumor. This is what's talking. Nothing. She hasn't been charged. She hasn't. There's nothing there. But they're saying that there's been so much issues with the Federal Reserve not doing their numbers appropriately
Right.
and
Somebody's got to take the fall for it. Somebody
keeping
has to.
interest rates up. Well,
Mhm.
they allowed it. That's a lot of people who are responsible who, and
Right.
if anybody has seen our lives, I talk about Fed Daddy having the wrong numbers. We've had whole episodes about the numbers being incorrect. Now that they're
Hmm.
coming out and saying in front of Congress that yes, we're fed bad numbers. Well, right now, Lisa Cook is kind of in the limelight because who is it? It's oh my gosh. Um I'm trying to remember his last name. I remember the first. I think it's Bill Powell. I think it's another Powell. I think that's why I'm getting confused. So he's a director in Fed and he's basically saying that she's performing mortgage fraud with the numbers and keeping the rates
I wouldn't want
higher.
to be her.
I would
Yeah.
not want I
Would
actually would
not want
not
to
wanna
be
even
her.
be around that situation,
Yeah. It's a
but
lot.
here's the deal. We had bad numbers, the interest rates have stayed up. we're not looking at a huge drastic cut of 2020, but we are
Right.
looking at starting the decrease of the rates in a very slow manner so we stay healthy. So my
Right.
question to you, Holly, from 2020 to going through all this, then the NAR lawsuit, where we're at now, the NAR lawsuit, how has that worked out in this past year? And now seeing where we're at, where Powell and Cook and these Trump coming in, then Doge coming in, and finding all of this stuff out that wasn't necessary, that we all had to have high interest rates.
Yeah. Well, and I hope I'm answering the question properly, but this year, all of that uncertainty is how we started the year. I feel like for me, 2024 ended really strong. It was my best year. And even though 2024, 2025, they say that we have less inventory than we did in 2008, if you can imagine that. So our inventory is super down. The number that just came out, and I posted it actually today on socials on Facebook and Instagram, is that the NAR, so National Association of Real Estate. Sorry, I've been saying NAR. It's the National
I know we
Association of
should
Real
say it.
Estate. It's
Mhm.
national now because we're going to give you guys national because I know we're on YouTube and not everybody's here in Michigan locally with us. So nationally, we are now month over month because they looked at month over month. We're 2.2% up finally in our inventory. It's the highest we've been in the last five. Well, actually, no, it's not. The last 5 years, we have the most buyer power in the last 5 years. Buyers haven't had a lot of power because, like you said, Cece, we had this huge jump. The rate went way low to like 3% and even lower at times. So buyers had a lot more power. They were able to get more for their money. Sellers were able to get more for their homes. But then of course it was like that the problem we had was the gridlock of how can we get all these buyers into homes because we didn't have enough property. So we've had a lower inventory problem for a long time, and that stemmed from COVID. That stemmed from the production just stopped with the lumber industry, with all these things. All these industries were affected, so we were still like 5 million homes behind even last year and this year in looking at nationally, because we looked at numbers, we look at how many people are entering the market. We've got to look at Gen Z. What percentage of Gen Z by age 30 will be homeowners? What percentage of, it shows like Gen X by age 30, what percentage was homeowners? The baby boomers, the silent generation. So they project and it keeps getting lower. Less the millennials, I forgot them. Forgot the millennials.
I don't even
There's
know
a
what the
joke there.
silent generation
There's a joke.
is.
Is older than the boomers. So the
Oh,
boomers' parents is this called the silent generation.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But and then the millennials. So the millennials had like they have the biggest buying group numbers right now, but they have the lowest when you look at percentage of how many of them are going to be homeowners by age 30. And it's interesting. You can make your own sidebar conversations on that. Gen Z is going to have more home buyers by age 30 than what the millennials had. So we have all these numbers and we have like all of the things. So the question you're asking is where do we see things going? Well, thankfully inventory is up because we need it to be up. The buyer demand is also coming back up though because we already know that when we start to see talking even of the rate potentially decreasing, now we've got more buyers thinking, well, I need to get in there and get ready. More sellers feel more confident. So I think right now things are up, and for me the beginning of 2025 was slower, even though 2024 was a great year because we came into a new administration with a new initiative, did a really hardcore course correct those first 100 days, like you mentioned Doge and we mentioned tariffs, all the things. I think everybody like kind of freaked for a minute because nobody knew what was going to happen. So whenever you have like a sense of instability, even though nothing had happened yet, nothing went wrong, people felt unsure. So we had a market that was kind of like lazy for a minute, except for the people that were like, I'm going to take advantage of this. There's not much inventory. I'll be able to get what I want, right? So now we're coming back into, I think we're going to see a great final quarter. This year has been a roller coaster because of the NAR settlement, because of the new administration and all the things, which I think are good things, by the way, I'll just say. And I think if everybody waits it out, they'll be happy. But politically, wars and things that we've had. So we've just had a crazy year. And then we've got agents who jumped into the market thinking it was easy to be a real estate agent, probably some loan officers too. We're dealing with people who aren't acting in a professional capacity. So yeah, there's a lot that's happened this year. It's been a ride, and I think we're going into a stronger market with real estate. I think we're balancing out. I think the rate is going to potentially come down a bit, but not enough to make some crazy,
Oh,
16% jump
no,
again.
it's gonna be
Prices
a
are
decrease.
normalizing. Yeah, prices are normalizing. Here in
Mhm.
Michigan, most of our areas are still seeing an uptick. I do every week, I look at a different city and they're still seeing an uptick in their average price point. But in Michigan, we're a little different than maybe the rest of the country because we didn't have such wild swings in our pricing like they did in Florida, in California, in Texas, and some of these other areas where they're having like crazy corrections, and of course you got weather patterns and you've got things on fire and it's just a lot.
Yeah.
But I think we're going into a good space. I think anyone who's thinking of moving to Michigan is making a good choice. I don't think our weather is the best, but I do think when you're looking at our real estate platform, I think we're in a really good spot. Did that
I
answer your question?
it did, because there's so much, especially with us coming up on the year of where we're supposed to be at, and the big thing is that a lot of this last year was supposed to protect the consumer. The sellers are the ones that initially brought this up, but yet one of the sellers actually now owns a mortgage company, or not mortgage company, a real estate company, surprise, surprise, and wanted to switch things around, and now there's more lawsuits. And yeah, so really the sellers didn't make anything, it just confused everybody, but I think we're
It
shaking
did.
out of it.
It confused
The As you
everybody.
said, new administration, that's shaking out. Other things are shaking out, which is great because we need, and I do see, and we have a few economic forecasters who also see, who Holly and I follow, the decline of the interest rate. It's not a
Mhm.
drop. It's not gonna happen like 2020, but
Right.
seeing that decrease is gonna make everybody feel a lot more secure in
Yes.
their next financial decision, and that's what we need, that security
Hmm.
feeling. That's why a lot
Hmm.
of people aren't putting their homes up for sale. So I'm hoping that at this year mark, individuals, and I even wanna say media. I hope the media turns around and just stops with scaring the conversation.
They just want
Oh my
headlines.
gosh, I know they want headlines, but it'd be really nice if the headlines were positive, like, "Hey, we're
Or
okay."
they actually did
That's
their
not gonna
job
happen.
and they dug into the data and reported the facts instead of just throwing things out to get people to like or watch or whatever. Yeah, if they just did their job, it'd be great. But they're more worried about numbers and
Money.
followings and,
Mhm.
oh, well, telling the
Just
truth isn't getting them anything. So they have to like stir everybody up. That's why I think we're warriors in our industry because it feels like at any given time, someone's trying to take us out, whether it be Zillow and their shenanigans and their crap or
Compass suing
our own government, yeah,
Zillow.
or brokerage wars or just stupid stuff, that happens. It's like we persevere, we ride whatever that shift is. We're in a shift right now. It's we're in it. Like we've been in it and it's happening and it's not a bad shift. It's actually I think it's weeding out people from the industry who, again, don't know how to find business because a lot of people haven't done a lot of business. I think the stat was like some high number, like 77% of agents didn't even like sold one house last year or less. And I'm like, again, there's a lot of real estate agents who do this part time. That should be your first question when you're talking to an agent. Are you full time or part time? And I'm not knocking part timers, but they're typically the ones that don't answer their phones and you're waiting on them and things slow down because they have another job and this is
You
not
know
their
what you
first
get.
priority.
Just
Yeah, it's
know
not their
what
first
you
priority.
get.
Yeah. And
Again,
so, yeah.
I agree, that's not the make or that should not determine who you work with, but just know the expectations.
Yes, you're not going to get them you're between the hours of 9 and 5 because they're somewhere else possibly working. But it's like anything. If you're going to hire a professional, if I'm hiring someone to do a job, I'm not going to go if I'm not going to have plastic surgery. That scares the crap out of me. But let's just pretend I was going to go have plastic surgery. Okay. I'm not looking for the doctor that's like doing a 2 for 1 or like, hey, we have a sale on blah, blah, blah. Like, do I really want, is that the doctor that I want to go to get under the knife with? Probably not. Just because it looks like a value, I'm going to
A
look for,
discount
I
doctor.
don't want a discount doctor and I don't want a discount when it's something important like the number one asset that I have is my house. Most people, that's true. If you're a buyer, it's the biggest purchase you're likely ever going to make, right? So I wouldn't trust that to somebody who doesn't eat, breathe, and sleep it. Me personally, everybody's different. That's just how I see it. It's a very important asset. And there was a while back, and I don't even think he's still on anymore, but he said something. And I wanted to circle back to one thing talking about stocks and crypto giving more returns. Here's what I want to say. Real estate is always going to hold value. Real estate is something you can see. Give me a crypto. Can I see a crypto? What is a crypto? It's nothing except perceived value that people have placed on something and other people agree. But if I say, can you hand me a crypto? You can't do it. Land, real estate has value, will always have value. Stocks are the other thing. If you're old enough to remember Enron, I have family members who lost a huge portion of their portfolio. My own dad, when GM went under and was restructuring, my dad lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in his stock portfolio for his retirement when that happened. So again, not to say that you can't make big money, but remember you're playing a Vegas game. It might be set up differently and it might have, the rules are you're going to win more than lose. It's not Vegas, but you're still banking on these companies making good decisions so that your money now is going to grow. And we all know that stock can be up and stock can be down. Real estate is always going to have value. And yes, real estate values go up and down, but it's a lot more, you can be more confident in real estate than you can in anything else. And when I say, I'm not just talking about buying land, we're talking about, investors who go in and will do commercial lending, who buy, and put up developments, apartment buildings, these big developments that people are putting up. This is all considered part of a real estate portfolio, not just buying and selling pieces of land. So keep that in mind. Again, I know that there's always going to be some new thing that the crypto, the EFT, all the things. I don't know. I haven't put my money into that because again, I'm old school maybe, and give me a crypto, give me an EFT. I know what they
You
are.
like something tangible, is
It
what
has
you're
no
saying.
value
Yeah.
except the value that people have all agreed that it has. But it's like when our money used to be backed by the gold standard, which it isn't anymore. Every dollar had gold in the US Treasury, that piece of paper, it did mean something. Now, that's why our money, we have a problem in our economy because we don't have that anymore. Every dollar that's printed is not backed. So that's the thing. I look at like things that are like real estate is always going to have value. And again, it'll ebb and flow. So you don't buy or you don't sell when it's low. You buy when it's low and you hold it, like Cece said. Sometimes you've got to hold it for a little while. You got to get through a real estate cycle. If
Can
things
you
are not, if they're low, you're not going to buy it and turn around and sell it. You're going to buy it and hold it. What do they say? Know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Yeah, could you
Go back to,
imagine picking up that land where the Chrysler Building is at in Auburn Hills for, let's say, 50,000 and you sold it for millions?
yes, I mean, hello. That's why we've talked about this before too. And I know you're going to do this same thing with your daughter. I think it's brilliant. We've talked about buying a property, having an
Mhm.
Airbnb. Okay, figuring it out. Then buying another one, then buying another one. I like Airbnb personally because I don't have to worry about a long term tenant that can completely destroy the home or start growing weed because unfortunately that's legal here in Michigan and doing things that, yes, people who aren't transient and when they're coming in just for the weekend they may not treat the house the best, but you charge them and you hold on to all these deposits and they're in and out, in and out, in and out. Typically, people that are on Airbnb, they're on vacation, right? They're having fun. And, I don't know. I look at it like you can build a really great wealth portfolio in real estate if you get smart with it.
I
I
think
think it's
that's what
smart.
it's a good retirement plan.
Yeah.
You gotta think about the
Great retirement
future.
plan.
So,
So did
yeah,
we answer the question on was there any other, I know you had a couple points. Is there
I
anything else
don't
that you wanted to hit on before we end today? Was there anything else?
no, no, I'm looking forward the only thing that I wanna say is I'm looking forward to seeing what, the unemployment rate's gonna come out to be,
Yes.
and all the reports that are coming September, October, November, and hoping moving forward that the numbers are correct so we can have individuals who can refinance, not
Mhm.
just purchase, but on my aspect of refinancing, I have someone who has quite a few debt, a lot of money in debt and credit cards, and they want to refinance. Well, we're there, but it would be nice if it was a little bit less.
Right.
So just
And
moving
there's
forward,
and they
looking
can use
forward
the
to that.
house. You just hit on something else, how real estate is an
The
asset.
equity.
Your equity in your home, if you do get
Mhm.
into some real estate, some credit card debt, or maybe you have medical debt, maybe something happened, maybe you lost your job and you fell on some hard times, you got divorced, something happened, but you do have this asset and it has appreciated because you've had it for long enough and you've put enough into it. Now you can go back and do that whole, home equity, pull the equity out, pay off some of those debts with those high interest rates to really get back on track with your finances. So again, just looking at this is an asset for you, building wealth. That's
Mhm.
why people talk about, why should I buy a house? Why can't I just rent? Because then I don't have to worry about all these things. And I understand that perspective. But again, you're never going to own an asset either that can also like give you
Give you
something
more money
back,
back.
something that
Mhm.
you can build generational wealth. Like, there's ways that you can do things for your kids and for their kids. You have a couple, if you have a real estate portfolio and these properties can be sold, even if they just get sold, even if your family doesn't want to continue renting them and holding, whatever you've got going, even if they just sell it, that's an asset for them, and it's a way to build that wealth that can be passed down. It's not a hard thing to do, but you got to start with owning one property for yourself. Becoming a property owner should always be your number one goal when you're looking at setting up yourself for success and adulting. Like when you're coming out of college, please don't put yourself in debt with college. We've already talked about that. Don't go 100,000 in debt. There's
Adulting.
other ways to go to college. Don't do it because you can't even get a house. But you want to get out of college. Most people at that age, I won't say kids because they're not kids anymore. They don't want to go back home and live with mommy and daddy, but a lot of them have to because of some of those decisions that they've made because they don't understand how money works and they went into debt just to go to college, which is not the way to start your life. Come out of college with a really good plan. So now you can buy your first property, even if not your forever home, but you're buying a house, right? You're a homeowner, now you're building that wealth portfolio. And then you can still go get your stocks and go get your stuff. Buy crypto if you want. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have any crypto and I don't plan on buying it. But whatever you want to do, get a house first. That's where you start. Build your wealth.
Yes.
That's it. That's all I got. That's actually not all I got, but that's all we have time for
No,
today.
that's all we have. Yes, yes. Well,
That's
on
all
that
we have
note,
time for today, folks.
yes, yes, yes. Well, Holly, thank you for having me on. Everybody, I'm Cece Machieski. I'm at Simple Home Lending, the local lender here in Michigan and Florida. Please reach out. Holly, again, thank you for so much for having me on.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for coming on with me because it's not fun just talking to yourself. And I love it. And we're here every Tuesday at 10 a.m. So make sure that you're tapping that notification so you are reminded. And like us, of course, and follow for more info. Tons of real estate stuff on the page. And if you need Cece's contact info, you can find mine under this video information and I will get you over to her. So everybody have a blessed day. We will see you next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.